Boy, have I got a deal for you today. Okay, so remember yesterday when we were proving triangles congruent and we had to have 6 different congruences? Well, the thing is, we don't really have to have all 6 congruences. There's some shortcuts to it, and so we're going to look at some shortcuts to proving triangles congruent. We really only have to show 3 things, not 6 things. Now, they have to be the right 6 things. They have to be the right 3 things. It just can't be anything. And so let's talk about it. Here is what we call the side-side-side postulate, and we just abbreviate it SSS, side-side-side. And what it states is that if you have all 3 sets of corresponding sides congruent, that's enough to show that the triangles are congruent. I really don't have to do the angles at all. If I can get all 3 sets of sides, that's good enough. All right, so that's my shortcut today. Let's try one. All right, so you're going to do kind of still doing those same proofs. These are kind of like the most common proofs, these proven triangles congruent. When you come back or when you look back at geometry and you remember doing proofs, these are going to be the ones you remember because we do them a bunch. So here's your statements, here's your reasons. And we're always going to start off and put in our given. So I have LM congruent to NP, and I have LP congruent to NM. And when I write those congruences, I always want to mark my picture up. They were kind enough to mark my picture already for me. Now I'm trying to show that these 2 triangles are congruent, and I'm going to use the side-side-side postulate. That means instead of having 6 congruences over here, I only have to have 3. I have to show all 3 sets of sides congruent. Well, the thing is, they already gave me 2, right? I already got 2 congruences. I just got the 3rd. So if you look at this triangle right here, I've got this leg, and then I have this piece. So it's this long leg here that I'm going to have to show congruent to over here in this triangle. Again, I got the leg and the leg with the 1 and the 2 hash marks. It's this. Oh, it's just that side that those 2 triangles share. All right, well, the length of LN in this triangle is exactly the same length as LN in this triangle. So it's not going to change. It's going to be congruent in both triangles. And so the way we write that is we just say, okay, well, LN is going to be congruent to LN. And my reason, remember it's that thing where it's the same on both sides? That's the reflexive property. That's where we use that reflexive when we want to show that, oh, there's my 1, 2, 3 hash mark side. Now I have all 3 sides congruent. Now I'm ready to say the triangles are congruent. Triangle LMN congruent to triangle NPL, and that's by the side-side-side postulate. Okay, so that's not so bad, right? Definitely a shortcut from yesterday. That's not the only shortcut we have. We have another one. It's called side angle side. And so that's going to be if you can show 2 sides and what we call the included angle. So when you look at a picture, it's like a side, and it's the angle between the 2 sides that the 2 sides create that angle. I always think you just wrap around the triangle. You go side, angle, side. Over here, side, angle, side. If you can show that, so it's going to be 2 side congruences and 1 angle congruence. And again, it's got to be in that order though, side, angle, side. Then that's going to be enough to show the triangle's congruent. I don't need all 6 congruences. All right, so let's just, before we jump into a proof, let's just look at this picture and say, okay, what other information do you need to prove these triangles congruent by side, angle, side? Now, all they've really shown in the picture is they've given me this congruence. So right now I have a side. That means I got to have an angle and a side. And so specifically, though, they want to know specifically what do I need. Well, here's the thing. Do you see this picture is very similar to the last one? Wouldn't this side be the same in both triangles? So they don't really have to tell me another thing. I can tell that from the picture. That would be like a reflexive step in my proof. That's not what I need. I've got my 2 side congruences then. What they really have to tell me is an angle congruence. Now be careful though, because you got to say the right angle, the correct angle. So you got to wrap around your triangle and go side, angle, side. So here's a side, and then an angle, so it's this angle, side. Side, angle, side. Okay, so that means I would need this angle to be congruent to, now I'm going to go to the other triangle. Now be careful, it will be tempting to say it down here, but that's not really, because look, see, this side is not one of my congruent sides. It's not this angle. It's the one up here. See how it goes side, angle, side? These are the two sides, so it's got to be this angle that's congruent. Now, that's what they want me to write here. What other information do I need? I need to know that angle, and I can't call it just angle D because there's multiple angles sitting there at D. I have to wrap around, so I'm going to call it angle GDF. I've got to use the 3 letters to show that congruence. Is congruent to angle, and then I'd write EFD. That's the other piece of information I need before I could show those triangles congruent. Okay, this one's yours. See if you can look at this picture and figure out what they would have to, what additional given information you would need to use side angle side. Go ahead and pause the video, draw on your notes a little bit, figure out exactly what piece of information. Be specific. What do they need to give you? Pause the video. All right, this is what I came up with. Do you match me here? Okay, this is the given information they'd have to tell me. For the angle that they gave me right here, I have to use the 2 sides that create that angle. So it goes side, angle, side. But then I have that reflexive thing in there where they share that. They don't have to tell me that. I can tell it from the picture. So what was missing is my single hash marks. Those are the 2 things they had to be congruent to create side, angle, side. Now, on this slide, what I'd like to do is just look at the 2 triangles given, and if you wanted to prove those triangles congruent, would you want to be using side, 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 angle, side, or maybe there's not enough information or not the right information to use either of them, then we'll write not enough info. So let's look right here, this first one. All right, so I see that there's 2 sides and they're giving me an angle, 2 sides and an angle. So I'm thinking side, angle, side. But it's got to be the included angle for that to work. The angle between the 2 sides. So here's a side, angle, side. I like that. Side and an angle and a side. I think that's going to work. I would write side, angle, side on this. Okay, let's check the next one. Okay, looks like we got an angle again, so it's going to have to be the side, angle, side. Over here I have the side, hang on, it's supposed to be this side, right? Because the angle between the 2 sides, they gave me this one, and I'm supposed to have this one. Okay, that's not okay. You can't just pick any side, angle, side. It's got to be in the right order. I would have to say not enough info. Okay, last one. Okay, when you look at these, you can see there's no angles at all. It's just all sides, so that's going to have to be a side, side, side postulate. All right, you do this one on your own. Would you use side, 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 angle, side, or not enough info? Go ahead, write what you think. Okay, hopefully you saw that one as a side, side, side. There's no angles given. They just give me all the sides. Okay, so let's try setting up a proof using one of those 2 methods. Okay, so it just kind of depends on the information they give us. So looking at my given information here, this is all given. They've sort of marked the picture up already. They said IE congruent to GH, that's my single hash mark. EF congruent to HF, that's my double hash mark. So I've got a side, and I've got 2 congruences. Remember that I'm going to have 3 congruences. So I've got to have one more, and I'm going to use this other piece of information to help get me there. It says F is the midpoint of GI. F right here is the midpoint of GI. Okay, for it to be the midpoint in your head, what does that mean? Well, it's going to mean that these are going to have to be equal to one another if this is at the midpoint. And that's an extra congruence I have. That's step 2 right there. I'm going to say IF is congruent to GF. And my reason for that, well, that information came from my statement that F is the midpoint. So this is what that's just what a midpoint does. It goes to the middle, creates two congruent segments. That's definition midpoint. All right. Again, we like to use our sheet of the whole list of theorems and definitions and everything. That helps us with the proof. It's always good to have that out as we work through these problems. Okay, step 3. I've got my 3 congruences. I'm ready to say the triangles are congruent. These haven't been real lengthy proofs, have they? Pretty short, because they're giving us a lot of the congruences. We're not having to work very hard for the congruences. This is a side-side-side situation. I didn't even deal with angles at all. All right, so this proof is yours. A little bit trickier because I don't see a whole bunch of congruences given to me. In fact, I don't see any. So that means you're going to have to use this statement and the picture to come up with your 3 congruences. Why don't you go ahead and get started on this without me. Fill in as much as you can, get all the information in there that you can, and we will, and then you can come back at the end after you've worked through it and check your answer. So pause the video, try this one on your own. All right, here's my proof. First thing I did is go ahead and take that midpoint information. That's actually, they told me it was the midpoint of 2 different segments, so I got 2 congruences out of that. I went ahead and put them all in one statement. You might have put them in 2, that's okay. I just try to shorten it up. Since the reason was the same, I could just write them both in the same line. All right, so I've got it marked with my single hash mark and my double hash mark. And then the other thing that you should have caught is that you have vertical angles in this picture. We actually had them in the previous picture, and we didn't need them. We didn't even use that. But in this case, I didn't have enough congruences, so I definitely used my vertical angles are congruent there. You do have to use all 3 letters. You can't just call it angle X because there's different angle X's there. But that was just enough information to show the triangles are congruent by side angle side. Hope you figured that one out. All right, so then our last thing is to do a construction, and we'll use our side, 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 and side angle side, and you can do this in your construction sheet, your notes. You can watch the video on how to construct it. I'm going to try to walk you through it as best I can without having a compass for you to see. But this construction right here, we've actually already done this. It says construct a triangle congruent to the triangle given. Use your construction notes packet. Here's the thing. We did this earlier. Remember when I gave you, and I don't have a straight edge here, so everything you would do, you would be doing with a ruler, not straight, not with just freehanding like I am. But I gave you like 3 different segments, and I said, hey, make a triangle with those 3 segment lengths. Okay, it's the same deal. It just happens to be that my 3 segment lengths are in the shape of a triangle. So I'm going to erase these segments. Actually, nope, not going to let me do an eraser. Okay, I'm going to leave those segments there. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to draw with my ruler a really, really long segment. And I say really long. I just want it at least this long and just a hair longer. Okay, so once I draw my straight line down here with my ruler, then what I'm going to do is take my compass and I'm going to put the point right here, and I'm going to put an arc down here. I'm going to measure that out. And then I transfer that distance down here, put the point here, make the matching arc, that same distance. Okay, so then I've got one side length that's exactly the same. Step 2, I'm going to put the point of my compass right here and measure how long this this leg is. Come down here, transfer that. Put my point here, and I'm going to put an arc, and I'm going to make it plenty big because I don't really know where I'm going to be drawing to. I know it's going to have to be drawn like to that, but I don't know if it goes there or there or there. Any place on that arc would be the right length. What I'm going to do is come over here and do it one more time. I'm going to put the point of my compass here and measure how long that side is. Come down here, put the point, and transfer that. And that spot where the two arcs intersect, that's the spot I want. That's going to be like that vertex I need. Now I can come back and join those, and I'll have a triangle that is congruent to my given one. All right, so again, we've done that before. It just looked different, but that's how I can prove the two triangles or construct congruent triangles, is through side, side, side. All right, good luck on your homework.